The legend of the hexagram.
The legend of the hexagram. In a deck of playing cards, the prototype for the King of Spades is said to be King David from ancient Jewish history. King David's emblem is known as the hexagram, which later became known as the Star of David. It is now the national emblem of Israel and a common symbol in monotheistic religions. Originally, the term hexagram was neutral, but due to the legendary connection with King David, it gained vitality. In the Bible, the most famous three kings of ancient Israel are recorded. Each of their reigns lasted approximately 40 years. King Saul. Saul was the first king of Israel. According to the Bible, the Israelites requested God to appoint a king for them, and Saul was chosen by the prophet Samuel. However, due to his later mistakes and offenses against God, he was ultimately rejected by God and met a tragic end. King David, the second king of Israel, is the most renowned. During his rule, he transformed Israel from a loose confederation of tribes into a powerful kingdom. King David lived to the age of 70 and died peacefully. King Solomon, David's son and heir, continued his father's legacy. Known for his wisdom and wealth, Solomon built the first temple in Israel. David's life was filled with legend, combining the roles of warrior, king, prophet, poet, politician, and military strategist. Historically, he is revered as Israel's greatest king. The Bible prophesied that the Messiah would come from the lineage of King David. David initially gained prominence through military exploits. One of his most iconic battles was against the Philistines, particularly his single combat with Goliath. During that time, Israel and the Philistines engaged in intense warfare. The Philistines sent a giant warrior named Goliath to challenge the Israelites. Goliath stood at 9 feet tall, clad in heavy armor, and brandishing a weapon. He challenged the Israelites to send a representative to duel with him. David, a young shepherd at the time, arrived to deliver food to his brothers. When he heard Goliath's taunts, he became incensed. Trusting in God's protection and his own abilities, David volunteered to represent Israel and face Goliath. Rejecting heavy armor and weapons, David chose a simple sling and 5 smooth stones as his sole weapons to confront Goliath. Upon seeing David, Goliath ridiculed him as an insignificant youth, without heavy weaponry. Goliath boasted that he would tear David apart. Undeterred, David stepped into the battle zone, skillfully slung a stone from his sling, and precisely hit Goliath's forehead. The giant fell like a tower. David then took Goliath's sword and beheaded him. David's victory boosted the morale of the Israelites, leading to a decisive victory over the Philistines. Throughout the Bible, conflicts between Israelites and Philistines frequently occurred. These battles were primarily driven by territorial disputes, resource scarcity, and religious factors. Regional competition. Israel and the Philistines share a border, leading to frequent conflicts between the two tribes over land and resources. In ancient times, land and resources were crucial for a nation, so territorial disputes were common. Religious conflict. The Israelites worshipped the one true God, while the Philistines followed a polytheistic religion. This clash of religious beliefs and cultures intensified tensions between the two nations. In the Bible, the Israelites were instructed to fight against pagans to defend their faith and culture. Political factors. Ancient wars between nations were often influenced by political factors. In Israel's history, tribal and kingdom conflicts within different regions frequently occurred. External powers sometimes exploited these disputes to interfere in Israel's internal affairs for their own gain. According to the biblical account, before ascending to the throne, David was King Saul's son-in-law. David's remarkable achievements in battle caught King Saul's attention. Consequently, King Saul decided to marry his daughter Michal to David, making her David's wife. This marriage not only elevated David's status as a royal relative, but also solidified his position within the tribe. However, David's relationship with King Saul was not always harmonious. As David's reputation grew, Saul's jealousy and suspicion deepened, eventually leading to hostility and conflict between them. Key points about their relationship. Saul's attempts to kill David. Saul's initial admiration for David turned into envy and resentment due to David's rising prominence. Saul made several attempts to kill David, including throwing a spear at him and sending assassins. These actions stemmed from Saul's fear of David and his desire to protect his own throne. David's fleeing. Persecuted by Saul, David had to flee the palace and wander in the wilderness for years. He constantly faced life-threatening situations, evading Saul's pursuit. During this time, David relied on loyal followers and his own wit to survive. David's forgiveness of Saul. Despite having opportunities to kill Saul, David chose mercy over vengeance. For instance, when Saul accidentally fell into David's hands in a cave, David spared his life, expressing respect and awe. David's magnanimity revealed his broad-mindedness and integrity. David's ascension to the throne. After Saul's death, David's succession to the throne was not through Saul's lineage, but by divine appointment. The prophet Samuel anointed David as the next king of Israel, according to God's will. The story unfolds as follows. After Saul's heroic death in battle, God instructed Samuel to find a new king for Israel. Samuel was told that among Jesse's sons, one would be qualified to be the next king. Samuel went to Bethlehem and discovered David, the youngest son of Jesse. Seeing David's exceptional qualities, Samuel anointed him as Israel's future king. From a young age, David displayed extraordinary talent. As a shepherd, he fearlessly protected his flock, even defeating lions and bears. As king, David ruled with wisdom and justice, earning widespread respect and trust. He established a powerful Israeli army and expanded the nation's territory to its peak. David's reign was marked by diligence and prosperity, making him one of the most outstanding kings in Israel's history. Some of his major accomplishments include establishment of a mighty kingdom. During David's reign, Israel transformed from a scattered tribal alliance into a powerful centralized kingdom. He expanded Israel's territory by conquering neighboring nations, extending its borders to their widest extent. Conquest of hostile neighbors. David defeated Israel's adversaries, including the Philistines, Ammonites, Moabites, and Arameans. His victories established Israel's significant influence in the Middle East. Jerusalem as the capital. After capturing Jerusalem, David designated it as the capital. He initiated construction projects, including palaces and public facilities. Jerusalem became the soul of Israel and remains a holy city in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Formation of a strong army. David assembled a formidable and elite military force, making him one of Israel's outstanding military commanders. His army excelled in battle, securing Israel's territorial safety. Domestic economic and cultural development. David's rule marked a prosperous era for Israel. He implemented internal reforms that promoted agriculture, trade, and the arts, significantly improving the people's quality of life. However, no one is perfect. David also had serious flaws. His sins included adultery and murder. David's affair with Bathsheba led to her husband Uriah's death on the battlefield. David genuinely repented, taking actions to make amends. He did not hide his mistakes or manipulate others. Despite God's acceptance of his repentance, David's hands were stained with blood, preventing him from building Israel's first temple. The Star of David, also known as the Hexagram, became associated with David. It consists of two overlapping equilateral triangles, often used as a religious and cultural symbol. Its significance varies across different contexts. In Judaism, the Star of David symbolizes the ancient Israelite kingdom and is widely used as a Jewish emblem. In Christianity, it is sometimes linked to secular and divine authority, as David is an ancestor of Christ. In Islam, some Muslim communities view it as a religious symbol, although its meaning may differ from Judaism and Christianity. This multifaceted symbol holds importance in various religious and cultural contexts, often appearing in flags, decorations, and religious rituals. The renowned David statue, sculpted by Italian Renaissance artist Michelangelo between 1501 and 1504, is a masterpiece. Carved from marble, it depicts David as a young, powerful figure, defeating Goliath. The statue's elegant lines and perfect proportions convey strength and grace. Today, this iconic sculpture is housed in the Galleria dell'Accademia in Florence, Italy, attracting countless visitors and art enthusiasts. It remains one of the world's most celebrated artworks. The decision to depict Michelangelo's David statue as a nude figure rather than in full armor likely involved several considerations. Artistic tradition. During the Renaissance period, artists drew inspiration from classical antiquity, particularly ancient Greek and Roman sculptures. Classical sculptures often portrayed the human body in the nude, emphasizing perfect proportions, lines, and anatomical structures. Michelangelo, influenced by this classical tradition, chose to depict David as a muscular nude man, highlighting his youthful heroism. Symbolic meaning. The nude portrayal of David symbolizes purity and courage, both spiritually and physically. By sculpting David without clothing, Michelangelo presented an unadorned, authentic image, emphasizing David's ambition and inner strength. Narrative expression. The statue represents the biblical scene of David as a young warrior, defeating Goliath. According to the Bible, David faced Goliath armed only with a sling and stones, not in armor. The choice of nudity aligns closely with the original story. Regarding the Philistines, they were an ancient people in the Middle East who inhabited present-day Israel and Palestine. Over time, their distinct culture disappeared, and they assimilated into other ethnic groups. Modern Philistines are more closely associated with the Palestinian region. When David ascended to the throne, he was only 30 years old. He pledged to continue Saul's legacy, driving the Philistines out of Palestine. David ruled in Hebron for 7 years and later captured Jerusalem, where he reigned for 33 years. In his later years, David struggled with maintaining warmth. Before his passing, he told his son Solomon, "I am about to go the way of all the earth." David died around 970 BCE, at approximately 70 years old, having lived a fulfilled life. According to the Bible, he was buried in David's tomb in Jerusalem. The Star of David and David himself represent two expressions of the same image. As a poetic couplet, consider the following: David, gallant and renowned, heroic deeds forever crowned. Six-pointed star, radiant and bright, symbolic emblem, through ages a light. David's legacy, pure and true, endures in time, forever anew. In a tank-style quatrain, we have: wolves and tigers yield to the shepherd's sway, with sling and stone, David conquers the fray. Anointed with oil, the six-pointed star gleams, eternal monarch, David's noble dreams.